In the midst of darkness, it was 2 o'clock of midnight. A man with his slender body and moving hands was writing and writing and writing. And finally, he came out in front of the world with his most melancholic stories, writings, and literary works. Who was that? This was Franz Kafka. Hello and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to my channel and I am Mehreen. Today in this video we are going to talk about Franz Kafka. I will try to make the video shorter and easier for you people to understand and get more knowledge. Franz Kafka, a renowned Czech writer, is celebrated for his profound influence on modern literature. His unique writing style, exploring themes of alienation, absurdity, existentialism, melancholy, sadness, and human condition, has captivated readers worldwide. Born on July 3, 1883 in Prague, Bohemia, now which is called Czech Republic, Kafka grew up in a middle-class Jewish family. His early life was marked by feelings of isolation and anxiety, and this isolation and anxiety is very much obvious in his writings too, largely due to his strained relationship with his father. He had daddy issues since his childhood. When he was born, he was a little kid. Everyone who is born, he or she is a little kid, but the problem is that he remained of a little stature throughout his life, while his father was a large, loud, big mustached man, and he wanted to see his son just like him. But unfortunately, his father found that his only son, his pride, was just opposite to his personality. Hermann Kafka's authoritarian nature and disappointment in Kafka's fragile physique created a sense of inadequacy in young Franz. This paternal conflict would later become a recurring theme in Kafka's works such as Letter to His Father. And this is again very tragic that this letter to his father was never reached to his father. Because when he gave this letter to his mother, when his mother read this, she never gave this letter to her father. Kafka's mother, Julie Kafka, was more nurturing, but her influence was overshadowed by Hermann's dominance. Kafka's feelings of insecurity and fear of his father's wrath significantly impacted his childhood and later literary works. Kafka's literary career began during his university years, where he befriended fellow writers Max Brod and Felix Welch. His early work, such as The Metamorphosis and The Judgment, showcased his unique style and thematic preoccupation. Franz Kafka's life was marked by turmoil, anxiety, and deep sense of alienation. However, it was precisely these experiences that fueled his literary genius. Through his works, Kafka continues to captivate readers with his profound insight into human condition, absurdity, and the search for meanings. We must remember that Kafka was an atheist. He didn't believe in God or existing life or even death. So he thought the life to be a burden. And this burden is very much obvious in his writings. Kafka's life, marked by childhood traumas, complex relationships, and literary struggles, ultimately shaped his distinctive writing style and thematic concerns. Kafka had a tough time in his whole life. Another unfortunate thing in Kafka's life was that he wanted to become a chemist. He chose chemistry for his career. But his father never wanted him to study chemistry, so he changed his field and he started to study law. From 1901 to 1906, Kafka studied law at Charles University in Prague, although his true interests lay in literature and philosophy. Kafka's education exposed him to various intellectual and cultural influences. He heavily influenced by German literature, particularly the works of Goethe, Schiller, and Nietzsche. He was interested in philosophy, especially the ideas of Schopenhauer and Sigmund Freud. Kafka's university years introduced him to a circle of intellectuals and writers, including Max Brod, who would become a lifelong friend and supporter. Of course, we all must be thankful to Max Brod, who brought Kafka's writing to the world. His experiences with the Austro-Hungarian bureaucracy and his law studies influenced his depiction of alienation and bureaucratic absurdity in his words. Like his whole life, Kafka's love life was also a fluctuating one. He thought he could never love to anyone. Kafka's love life was complex and often tumultuous. He had several relationships, but his struggles with intimacy and commitment hindered his romantic endeavors. One of his most notable relationships was with Phyllis Bauer, a Berlin woman whom Kafka corresponded with extensively. Although they became engaged twice. They engaged, then they broke their engagement, they again engaged, and then again they broke their engagement. Kafka ultimately broke off the engagements, citing his inability to balance marriage and writing. Another significant relationship was with Dora Diamond, a young woman who became Kafka's companion in his final years. No, it was not this Dora. Despite their deep connection, Kafka's health issues and fear of commitment prevented them from formalizing their friendship. We must not forget that Kafka was the writer of war too. When he was writing, other than his childhood traumas or domestic affairs or other problems, there was an issue of war too. And we must remember that in the First World War, what was happening to the Jews. Even his own two sisters were murdered in gas chambers. He was seeing his Jew fellows being murdered and being killed mercilessly. This also influenced his writings. Here we must not forget Mr. Brod, who was born in Prague in 1884 and met Kafka while they were students. Their friendship lasted a lifetime, with Brod becoming Kafka's confidant and literary executor. Kafka entrusted Brod with his unpublished works, requesting that he destroy them after his death. He was saying these words when he was on his deathbed. When he came to know that he is just going to die, he asked his best friend, Mr. Brod, to burn all of his literary work when he was died. However, Brod defied this request, recognizing the significance of Kafka's writings and its potential impact on the literary world. We all must be thankful to Mr. Brod today. Brod published many of Kafka's notable works posthumously, including The Trial and America. His efforts ensured that Kafka's legacy endured despite Kafka's own doubts about his writings, because Mr. Kafka was himself the greatest critic of his own writings. In 1939, Brod fled Prague with a suitcase of Kafka's papers, many of which were unpublished. He eventually settled a mandatory Palestine, where he continued to promote Kafka's works. Brod's decisions to publish Kafka's works has had a lasting impact on literature. His friendship and support of Kafka demonstrate the importance of believing in others' talents, even when they doubt themselves. Kafka's life was cut short when he contracted tuberculosis in 1917. The disease progressively worsened, and he spent his final years in and out of sanatoriums. Kafka's struggles with his health and impending mortality deeply affected his writings, as seen in works like A Hunger Artist and The Bro. On June 3, 1924, Kafka passed away at the age of 40 in Kerling, Austria, due to complications from tuberculosis. His friend and literary executor Max Brod defied Kafka's request to destroy his unpublished works.